So after I had finished recording my video, why Karen Reed had been found not guilty based on the interview by Jason, who was one of the jurors in the trial. He gave the interview to TMZ. You can watch the video. The card should be appearing right now. Nonetheless, I have finished recording that video, and I just thought I'll take a minute, go online, just clear my head for a bit, and lo and behold, I have been tagged in a post from John DePetro. I did not want to believe this guy, to be quite fair, but he had interviewed an alternate juror and he had posted it on his website. I didn't want to believe this was a real alternate juror, but he didn't deliberate or anything like that, but he gave an interview. And for this video, I want to go through that interview and basically see what the jurors were basically thinking. So basically, he said, I can't speak to what the deliberations were told as for being an alternate. I have to confess to being very let down. When Jim called my number, he called 3 others numbers before 17. I thought I was going to get through. But what can you do? It's the luck of the draw. 6 of us had to be alternates. How would you have voted? John DePetro asked. And he basically said, I would have voted, I don't know if it's a he or she, by the way, but anyway, moving on. The juror basically said, I would have voted not guilty for all charges except maybe OUI. I think she was drunk in the morning. They tested her in the AM, but that doesn't prove she was drunk when she left the bar, because she easily could have gone home and drank. That is one of AJ's closing arguments. So I'm glad that this lingered, but I'm surprised he would have voted not guilty. And I'm very surprised that for once in this whole trial that John DePetro is actually putting on it's actually telling the truth. He's actually spoke to a proper juror. I thought he was trolling. I didn't want to believe it. I was like, no, I don't believe anything that comes from him, because he's been such a misinformer all through the case. But this seems legit. I'll continue reading. John DePetro asked, how was Hank Brennan? And then the juror responds saying, Hank was very focused, very determined. He did a great job at crossing Sergeant Barros. And I personally thought he did a great job as well. And I'm glad this juror actually thought the same. He definitely tripped him up and got him confused on the pictures. I don't think anyone can deny how good of a lawyer he is on cross, how good of a defense lawyer he is. I think every lawyer that had commented on the case that I have spoken with and also seen on YouTube basically give their takes, they all said that was a masterful cross. And the way he got Sergeant Barros to basically, say that he may have misremembered, etc., that was masterful. That can't be denied. But at times, Hank came across as just rude, saying over here to witnesses was way over the line. And the thing with the holes in the back, in the hoodie, that really hurt his credibility. I knew that was going to come back to bite him. I knew. And I wouldn't be surprised if this was the same thing with the deliberating jurors as well. Jason did not talk about this in his interview with TMZ. He wasn't really asked, but I really wonder if any of the jurors would be asked this question and what they thought in regards to the holes. Because this one, even though Bev didn't signify that Hank made this mistake, and Hank really did mess up with this. We done a whole video about that. I'll leave it in the card. I said in that video that it was an irreparable damage because it may leave the impression for some jurors that she is guilty. But even despite Bev's watered down version, they could still connect it back to Hank and say, yeah, he was a slime ball that basically was trying to fabricate evidence. And I'm just happy that this came back to bite him. John DePetro asked, how was blue paint? And he basically said, honestly, my head was spinning. I thought it was a joke. I couldn't believe a forensic expert would do something so silly. All it did was demonstrate that if you intentionally put your bare skin against wet paint, the paint would transfer to your skin. I don't know how anyone could think that was a smart thing for the prosecution to show. Oh, this jury was smart. They were smart. Wow. Something that we've all said. There is no way, I'm telling you, the people that were crediting that paint transfer test, John DePetro himself was basically saying that this test proved that Karen did it, and so many people were praising Hank Brennan for that. This was such a bad test, and the rebuttal from Harker literally destroyed them. I don't know why people thought that Hank Brennan done really well with this, because he really fell off steam when he had to bring the science into it. When it got to this test, I was literally saying, how is the defense going to respond? Because at least they have now shown a visual of what could likely happen. You may think it's ridiculous. I said this at a time to myself, not really here to you guys, but I said at a time, you may think it's ridiculous, but some jurors might think, oh, that could be probable that the accident could have happened that way. But the way that this juror had basically characterized that test is so funny. John DePetro asks, what was wrong with case? It should have been with the case, but I'm not moving on. The juror responds, there were some glaring holes for the prosecution, to name just a few. One, Hank kept portraying KR statements at the scene as an admission, but that doesn't add up. If KR admitted to killing a cop, why didn't any of the cops on the scene arrest her? Wow. Or even detain and question her, or put it in their reports. There is an officer down, and there's a woman yelling her admission for emergency responders to hear. But by coincidence, not a single cop heard it or thought to write it down. That's odd, right? This insane. 2, no consistent explanation for injuries. No medical doctors would say that a car was involved. If he was on the lawn from 12:30 to 6 a.m., where was the frostbite? Insane. This is everything that we've been saying. This is everything that I've been thinking all through this trial. Why this is gold. The state just ignored this. Why? I hope it's not trolling. I really hope it's not trolling. I hope, John, you're not trolling with this, because there is no way this is actually a juror that actually believed this and sat in a courtroom. Because a lot of people were saying this when the case was going on, that none is adding up. I'm not a true crime guy. I don't know about other murder trials, but maybe you do, John. Is it normal for the state to charge someone with murder when their own medical examiner can't or won't call it homicide? Wow. That is insane. That's something I have said. I have said this many times. And I've seen lawyers make the same point as well and say that the DA would not even take the case because they would think that they're not going to win it. That's insane that he's picked up on this. He or she, I don't know the gender. The juror continues to say, is it normal for the state to not call the main detective? Now consider, is it normal for both of these things to happen in a murder trial? Common sense would suggest no way. That's massive doubt. Jesus. I can't believe. So this was critical thinking at best. Anyway, I have no words to say, because end of the day, this is everything that has been noted. And this juror basically highlighted a lot of points that I didn't even consider at some point. But I do remember in the first trial, I did say when they were discussing with all the other officers that were on the scene, because the first trial was really comprehensive, I was thinking at the time, why is no one making a report of this? Why are they just throwing it off nonchalantly if she did confess? And it's good to know that those videos did not make an impact. I personally thought it did. I personally thought the way that Hank had basically set it all together and sequenced it, I thought it may have been strong enough to suggest murder. But I guess the juror was like, nope, we're not going to see it. And now, even now, when you're now casting your mind back to the trial, you can even now think, okay, now it makes sense why they were asking, are the video evidence? It makes sense. John DePetro asks, who were good witnesses? The juror responds, the scientists from Arca were convincing, and when they were cross-examined, they didn't get defensive or snippy. Contrast with so many of the witnesses for the prosecution, Brian Loughran was maybe the most convincing, at least for me. I was born in Norwood when JFK was president and have lived in Massachusetts in my whole life. I have shoveled more driveways than I care to remember. If there was a body laying an inch or two of snow just off the road, There is no way the plow driver would miss it, right? Unless the plow guy was drunk or had skipped his route. Oh wow. If this guy was, I feel like if this guy was in the deliberation room, there is no way it would have taken 3 days. If this juror was in that room deliberating, it probably would have taken at least 15, maybe 14, maybe 10 hours to deliberate, because these are some good points. These are some good points. John DePetro asks who were bad witnesses. The juror responds, Jen McCabe. The juror basically said too many things didn't make sense, especially she forgot who she called when those other agents asked her. Kay Roberts, she kind of admitted to lying at the grand jury. She said she didn't do it on purpose, but still it made me wonder why the state calling someone who lied at the grand jury. I mean, I will say this: the reason why they called her is because she was actually on the scene, so it would have been bad if you don't call this witness. But yeah, I that's bad. That is so bad. Kerry and Jen. The juror goes on to say the Boston cop Deva, she didn't want to answer anything. It's kind of funny in hindsight, but at the time it made me think, why is the policewoman so reluctant to say whether or not there were cameras at her police station? And that's the interview. Oh my gosh, the person that tagged me has made me go and look for the responses to this. And the people already melting down saying that he had free Karen Reed talking points. And I'm like, oh, guys, people, it's possible. This is what I hate about this case. It's very possible that people just have a difference of opinion. This juror was there and listened to the evidence presented. He's talking and responding to the evidence. They're not listening to us. They're not on social media. And this is the same thing I said last video in regards to Jason. There is no way that you're seeing these guys on social media and speaking like this. These guys do not comment or have any other idea of what's going on with this case. And he didn't ask him or her, I don't know the gender. And from what I've read, John DePetro did not ask this juror about the cover-up or anything like that. So we don't know what he or she was thinking about that. But please, there is no way you are thinking that questions like a medical examiner not declaring it as homicide is normal. Why are people saying every day and everywhere in the country? Where does that happen? Every case I've seen, like the guy even qualified it and basically said, I'm not a true crime watcher, but and I thought that was the best point he's made. I thought that was the best point because, like I said, he would not make it past the DA. A lot of lawyers I've said that. I was surprised. How do you prove that this was a vehicular homicide if there's no impact site, there's nothing on the body or anything like that? There's no need to cope. This is just a juror's opinion who was at the courtroom following the law that they were restricted to. They are not in your echo chambers reassuring themselves it must be this, it must be that. They have to keep an open mind. That is how the system works. And I'm blown away that 2 jurors so far have been following this case closely. John DePetro says that he has another juror that he's going to speak to, another alternate. So I'll do another video when that happens. But for now, thank you for watching this. I have never thought that John DePetro would actually report fairly and be objective, but I guess there's the first time for everything. Anyways, I go by the name of Heinz, and thank you so much for tuning in for another episode of the Heinz Report. We cover nothing but legal cases on this channel. Ketchup Court TV, the spiciest court in the land. So make sure you catch up with us. Make sure that you hit that like button if you have liked this video. Don't forget to share this video everywhere. Let me know how you're feeling in the comment section below, and most importantly, don't forget to hit that subscribe button to see more of our content. I gave my thoughts and opinions on why Karen Reed was found not guilty based on Jason's interview with TMZ. He was one of the jurors. It's very interesting watch. Make sure you go check that out. Thank you so much again for tuning in. See you next time. Bye for now.